Alright guys, so here's what we got going. For all necessity and flight information purposes, what we're doing this week is we're getting ready to solo, right? So basically what that means is we're going to do some maneuvers, so stalls and steep turns today, which should be fun. We're going to do that, I believe, with Dallas or Ryan and Nate today. Today's Wednesday. Dallas and Ryan. Yeah, okay. Dallas and Ryan. But what we've got here is our pre-solo knowledge exam, but also a solo cheat sheet. So this bad boy right here I can have with me in the plane. And this is essentially telling me exactly how to run the pattern, which is you're going on takeoff to crosswind, downwind, base, and then final. And this is essentially telling me all the different little things, even though I know it pretty well by now. This is essentially telling me all the little things so I don't forget anything. So basically what this is before the solo. So we're gonna go up in the plane with the instructor, so with Ryan or Dallas or Nate, whoever's with us that day, and we're gonna go up and we're gonna do a couple of takeoffs and landings before we actually get to solo, and then he's gonna get out of the plane. So at that point, the plane's basically already gonna be pre-flighted. But what we are gonna have to do is the run-ups again. So we're gonna have to check everything. We're gonna have to do our engine checks. We're gonna have to do our avionics checks, our electronics checks, all that jazz. So we're doing the pre-flight, the run-ups, and then a couple of takeoffs and landings, and we're taxiing back to the run-up area. And then after that, what we're doing is once he hops out, we're re-listening to the ATIS just for the altimeter and information settings. So that could be, information Sierra or information Romeo, that kind of thing. So we're listening for the weather, basically, is what we want. We want the wind and the weather so we know what's happening, and so we don't have to really think about it in the flight. We're gonna write those down too. And then once we're ready to go, we've done all our checks, our magneto checks and whatnot, and we'll run up for our checklist that we actually have in the plane itself. We're going to radio to ground. And basically how you radio, for those of you that don't know, how you radio in the plane is pretty interesting. You go with the 5 W's. Who you're calling, who we are, where we are, what we want, and the weather information. That's why we got to listen for the weather information, right? So for example, what we're doing is we're going to call chino ground, right? That's who we're calling. Who we are, this is Skyhawk November 6 Alpha Bravo. That's our call sign on our little Cessna. Where we are, so we go out of the threshold hangar, so we're just going to say at threshold. What we want, we're going to say ready to taxi. That's it, ready to taxi. Don't tell them where, because they're going to tell us where, right? So ready to taxi, and then weather information. So like I said, it's going to be information Bravo, information Romeo, information Sierra, that kind of thing. So all together, that's going to be chino grounds, the Skyhawk November 6 Alpha Bravo, at threshold, ready to taxi, information Bravo, and that's it. And so then we wait for clearance. ATC is gonna, or sorry, not ATC, ground control is gonna say something like Skyhawk November 6 Alpha Bravo, clear to taxi via Charlie to runway 26 left, something like that. And then we're gonna repeat back to him, 26 left via Charlie, 6 Alpha Bravo, that kind of thing. So after we're clear, we're gonna roll onto the taxiway, and we're gonna roll up to the runway departure sign, and we're gonna hold short, which essentially just means wait, right? And we're gonna be about an aircraft's length away from the lines that we're looking at, and then we're gonna switch to tower frequency. So there's 2 frequencies in the plane, there's ground and tower, right? And you can actually flip between different things too to contact different groups of people if you want to. That's how when you're going to different airports, you have to connect to their tower frequency, so you can speak to tower and speak to their ground frequency kind of thing. So it's the same thing, but now it's just flipped. So we're going the 4 W's, right? Who we are calling, who we are, where we are, and finally what we want, right? We don't need to do any of the information stuff anymore, so we're just going who we're calling now. It's Chino Tower, right? Because we're trying to take off, so it's Chino Tower. And then who we are, this is Skyhawk November 6 Alpha Bravo, right? Where we are, holding short of 26 left, so holding short of the runway, right? Holding short of 26 left on Charlie. So of 26 left on Charlie. That's an important distinction that a lot of people get wrong. So remembering that where we are, holding short of 26 left on Charlie. What we want, ready for departure, and then reasoning. So ready for departure for solo, ready for departure for traffic work, ready for departure for a day flight, something, give them something to work with so that they know what we want and what we're going to be doing. And they're going to respond with the same thing. They're going to say, they're going to repeat back, and then they're going to give us clearance, and then they're going to give us taxiway, cleared for takeoff, 26 left, or they're going to tell us to hold because we have incoming planes, that kind of thing, and we just have to repeat back what they're saying to us, and then at the end of it, give them our cars. I know how to speak. I promise. We're going to give them our call sign at the end of it so that they know that that's the end of what we're saying, essentially. And then, so once we're cleared for takeoff, we're going to roll onto the runway. We're going to go a little bit before the numbers because we have more runway to work with back there. We want to use the whole thing. No need in not doing that. We're going to get centered on the center line using the rudder pedals, and then after that, we're going full power, 3 seconds in, full power. And we're going to get up to good airspeed indication. And after that, we're just going to bring back the yoke and take off. And that's kind of all it is. Airspeed alive, send it. That's what we got written down here. So the pattern for us is essentially what we're going to be doing on our solo is 3 takeoffs and landings. Okay, 3 takeoffs and landings. And so the pattern for us is we're going to climb to 1,000 feet, and then we're going to send left on the crosswind because chino for 26 left is a left-hand pattern, right? So we're going to climb to 1,000 feet. We're going to turn left down the crosswind. Okay, we're going to crab into the wind a little bit because there's usually a little bit of a left headwind. So we're climbing to 1,000 feet. We're going down the crosswind, and then we're going to give it probably about 5 or 6 seconds, give or take, on the crosswind for the pattern, and then we're going to turn downwind. Once we're on downwind and we've reached our desired altitude of 1,400 feet, right? Once we know what we're doing, we're going to pull back that power a little bit, and so we're going to get back to 2,100 instead of full power, getting to around 2,100, or kind of cruising speed, which is about 75 knots or so. So once you're at 75 knots and you're kind of cruising along, you're just going, chilling, the power's pulled back a little bit, you can trim out so you don't really have to fly the plane at all. Once we get level with the numbers is what I like to call it. So your left wing is kind of where the numbers are on that downwind. If we're the number 1, right, we got to listen to ATC and make sure we're the number 1 so we're cleared for the option. Okay. Once we're on that downwind and we are cleared for the option and we're the number 1 and our numbers are on the left wing, what we're going to do is we're going to pull back the power to 1750 RPMs. We're going to pitch the nose down just a little bit, and then we're going to go flaps 10. So we're going to hold the flaps down for 4 seconds-ish, and we're going to go flaps 10, and that'll help us put some drag on the plane so that we can go kind of like a slower speed and more of a descent rate, because that's what we want. At this point, we want to be descending, okay? Which is kind of not intuitive, right? You're descending on the downwind, so like the runway is going this way, you're going that way, and you want to be descending going that way, which is kind of weird to think about. You would think you want to be descending on the same leg as the runway, but you don't. Not when you're in the pattern, at least. So you're descending going this way, and once you get to a 45-degree angle to your back, so for example, I'm going to be looking over my shoulder, see the runway this way. Once you're at that 45-degree angle to your back, what you're going to be doing is essentially turning down your base. Okay, so we're going to be turning down the base, and at that point you can pull the power back even more, go pitch down, flaps 20. All right, I like to go flaps 20 on my base turn if possible. Okay, once you see the runway, it's going to be on your left hand side. Once you see the runway, essentially what we're going to be doing is just turning final. So we're going to be turning final, we're going to see the runway there, we're going to make that bank turn, and we're going to be hoping for a good glide scope. A good glide scope looks like 2 white, 2 red, right? If you see 4 red, you're too low. If you see 4 white, you're too high. You want to find a good glide scope with the pappies. The pappies are those weird little lights on the side of the runway that tell you your glide scope. So that's where you're going to be sitting at. So once you're on your final, you want to trim it out so you're not really flying, and at that point you got a good glide scope, you got a good trim, you got good power, you want about 70 knots, and you're just coming in steady, coming in super steady, and that's where you want to be at. Once you're steady and you're going, and then you're in a good spot, all you want to do is basically butter it onto the numbers. Once you get over the numbers, okay, you're at 70 knots, you're holding steady, it's gonna be shaky. But if you're holding steady, you're good, and you want to be making sure that you're controlling your yaw with your rudder pedals, right? Once you're over the numbers, you're pulling power to idle, so you're pulling power all the way back, okay? So that the plane will fuse out eventually. You're gonna get real close to the runway. So if this is the runway, right? You're gonna get real close to the runway, kind of like this, and then you're evening out almost like a hawk touching the water. And then once you're at this point, right? You don't want to belly up like this, because then you're gonna just like balloon. What you want to do is come in, you're here, you're coming in, and then you're gonna maintain this altitude for a little while until the power runs out, and then lift up the nose. So I'm still in the runway, right? Lift up the nose, so you kind of just like skirt it in gently, tap down the gears, and hold up the nose as long as you can until it has no power left. Once it has no power left, it's just gonna kiss the runway, and that's all you need to do. And you know, we were talking about this in earlier videos, but what you want to do is once you're over the numbers and you're pulling back to idle, what you want to do is be looking at the very end of the runway so that you can see kind of where you want to be and where you want the nose to touch down. Obviously, it's not going to happen when you're on power idle, so that's perfect because you want to keep that nose up as long as possible so it just kisses the runway. You don't want to mess with the nose wheel at all. So yeah, that is essentially what we're going to be doing for the takeoff, the pattern, and the landing. So for our solo, we're going to be doing that 3 times, and yeah, hope that was informative.